To our final speaker of the day.
Best for last.
Yeah.
Absolutely the best for last. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about our last speaker that he may or may not remember. But early last year, right before the presidential nomination convention, I had just took over our Whiskey Region affiliate in the Libertarian Party of Tennessee. And when I took over that region, I was responsible for 13 counties in Tennessee. When I took it over, I only had one active county. So we started building, and one of the very first events that we used to kind of get people out was we had a Zoom event and invited some of the people who were running for LNC positions. Spike Cohen was on there, and I decided to reach out to John Monds and ask if he could come on and speak to the people of our region. And John answered me. He said, absolutely, I'll be there. Well, John had got double booked that night. He was at the Libertarian Party of Pennsylvania, and he was participating in a debate. And we were fully prepared to understand that John's engagement there in Pennsylvania probably would trump our little regional event here in Tennessee. But he said, no, don't you worry about it. He said, I'm going to go to this debate. He said, just make me the last speaker. So we had all speakers come through and talk, and right after John had just participated in a presidential debate in Pennsylvania, John jumped on our Zoom and stayed on our Zoom and talked to our people for about 2 hours. And after about the first hour, I said, John, I realize you're on the East Coast and it's getting late, so if you wanted to head to bed, I know you've had a busy day. He said, no, I'm here. I'll talk to you guys as long as you got questions for me. So I know we've talked about affiliate development a lot today, and that really helped our affiliate in Tennessee. That was one of the sparks that lit the fire there in the Whiskey region that caused us to be the fastest growing and largest regional affiliate in the state of Tennessee. So I will always appreciate our next speaker for what he did for my region and what he did for the state of Tennessee. And I know we all recognize the amazing feats that he's done in his political career, but it's the things, the acts of kindness and the small things that really lift John Monds above, head and shoulders above a lot of the rest. He's not just a politician. He actually genuinely cares about people, and you can tell that in his message. Like we was talking earlier, it's a message of love, a message of compassion, and you get that with John Monds, and you know it's the truth when you look in his eyes, and when he does things like what he did for our affiliate in Tennessee. So, without further ado, because of this train, I'd like to introduce the last speaker of the night, the wonderful Mr. John Monds.
I didn't get music.
Wow. I promise I am not going to be long. I know it's been a wonderful convention, and I'm glad that you all have decided to stick around just to see what I might have to say, and I'm honored with that. It's going to be tough. I mean, it's always tough because I have so much respect for the members of this party and all the previous speakers. I mean, they're phenomenal. And coming to the convention is something that always it re-energizes me. So I'm personally glad to be here. I wrote some notes because, like Dave was saying, I can talk all day long, and I don't want that to happen. Angela, just check me on time and make sure I don't go too crazy up here. But I'm going to try to get something I wanted to share with everybody. Everybody always asks, what are you doing next? What do you got planned? and I want to share what that is with you all. So I'll get right into it. First, for all of you that might not know me, my name is John, and I'm not a recovering libertarian. I'm actually so far gone that there is no hope for me. And my addiction isn't to the LP so much, but to this ideal of being free, freedom. And politically, the LP is just the best place to be to try to attain that. So I keep coming back to events like this, and it's because of you all. You all inspire me to keep on the path of freedom and to keep up the fight against those who wants to enslave me and all of us. So thank you. Let me thank the convention committee for inviting me to speak today. I said, Ryan, if you need a speaker or something, I'd be glad to say something. And he's like, yeah, okay, sure. And I like to ask because you never know what the need might be. So if there's anything I can do, I try to help out and do that. Also want to thank LP Georgia in general for helping me believe that I could actually run for the presidential nomination of this party. It was at the convention last year that I was actually inspired. I thought about running for a while. It's one of those things, a lot of my previous races were, for the party. But, running for president was something I thought of, personally, that I thought it would be good for the party, but it was just something I wanted to do. I wanted to be on a stage where I could share with people what I believe in and hopefully maybe draw some other folks in my candidacy to take a serious look at the LP. So I hope I was able to do that. Where are we? So lately, and finally, I want to thank my supporters. I had a great team. Mark Mosley's here. Some of them have been here this weekend. Mark Mosley, Doug Craig, Christine Austin, Chase. Chase is so famous now. You don't even need to say his last name. It's Chase. That's awesome. Nelson Barnhouse was a great supporter of mine, and anyone that voted for me across the the country, the donors. I just wanted to say thank you for your support. I was very touched. I just want to mention Chase again and what he said, about that race in 2010, and that race. I got a record number of votes for a gubernatorial candidate in Georgia. I think it was like 106,000 votes. But to me that doesn't mean as much, as hearing Chase say that. From my campaign, he was inspired to take a look at the LP and join, and I see, I'm so proud, if I didn't do anything else, but hearing someone like Chase make that statement, that really warms my heart, and it makes it worthwhile. That's more important than those 106,000 votes that I got. Want to do a quick shout out to our vice presidential nominee, Spike. Like I said, I supported Spike before I even joined the race, and I was actually glad he won. I told him that, congratulations, man. But also our national chair, Joe Bishop Henchman, for coming out. And LP Georgia has a way of attracting notice from across the country, and people in leadership come and support us. Also, our Region 2 rep, I want to do a shout out to Stephen and Kayla, and say to those guys, keep up the good work. We appreciate you, what we're doing here. So now, the task at hand. What do you say to what to be the smartest, most intellectual people in society? And that's how I look at the folks that I've met across this country in the LP. I mean, you got to bring it because you got to say something. Because this is a tough crowd. I mean, they can notice the BS very quickly, you know. And I think it's easy for those other parties. They can say whatever. I mean, their folks believe anything, you know. And they just follow the party line. But here, it's a little bit different, and I enjoy that. So I'm going to share you today with me something when we talk about the whole ideal of setting the world free in our lifetime. I mean, that is a goal. And one thing, like I said, I have notes, but I always add stuff in as I go, as I feel it. But, you know, recently I've lost several friends. And it's really touched me, you know. One that I've known for over 30 years. And it gets you thinking about, hey, you know, how long do I have left? You know, so when I think about the world being set free in my lifetime, it starts to take on more importance, you know, because I don't know how long I'm going to be here, but I sure would like to see it, you know, while I'm here and hopefully get a chance to enjoy it. So, you know, so I began to ask myself, you know, on what could I speak about that I think would be a game changer for this party? What do I see? What's going to shift the paradigm from the status quo that we seem to be stuck in? Now, what can we do to put the odds in our favor? I mean, we're always going up against the odds, you know. So I was kind of thinking of Hunger Games, you know, maybe the odds forever be in your favor and something like that. And I think I have an answer to those questions. But I'm going to, let me just set the stage for you right quick. So we all know that the LP has been around for going on 50 years. And we've been playing this game that we've been playing of politics, where the rules are against us and the House has a huge advantage. I mean, kind of speaking to some of the gambling folks out here, we talk about the House advantage, but you know, for those who may gamble that are in my age bracket, there's a song by Kenny Rogers called "The Gambler," and some of those lyrics were, "You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run." And because it's tough a lot of times being in a party where you don't see, you know, the big glamour and success of the other parties. Over the years, we've had a lot of people. I know I've noticed it since I've been involved. People that have run away. I mean, it is tough. And while, you know, we as a party have had successes over the years, we've had an electoral vote. Some folks might not, you know that, but we have gotten an electoral vote in our history. Now it's becoming a regular thing to have 50 ballot, you know, state ballot access, you know, in recent years. That is a big deal. That is a success. We've got multiple candidates with over 1 million votes. That is success. And we have, like Joe mentioned earlier, we have a lot of elected libertarians. That's awesome. But we all understand that the needle going from this totalitarianism to freedom, I mean, it's crawling. And it can be very frustrating. So, you know, we need something that's going to be a game changer. So what I want you to do is picture, you know, after the 2020 election was over, or when the results were being announced, everybody knows the graphic that they always show on TV, right? That shows how people voted across the country. And they break it down through states and counties. And in that graphic, for as long as I've known, I don't think we've ever cracked it, but every single spot, every little locale on there is either red or blue. Every single one. And that's after 50 years, almost, of investing so much time, effort, into it, and that's where we are. So I got to thinking about that, and it's a very powerful graphic. We in Georgia, as well as other states, know that because of the rules of the game, a lot of our resources are spent on a top-down strategy. Statewide races, especially here in Georgia, we have to put a lot of time and effort into statewide races because that's how we maintain our ballot access. So we want to at least keep the floor. We don't want to fall below that. But that forces us, into putting that time and effort and money into these statewide races. And we all know, when they talk about politics being local, that where we're going to, I talked about, where the bread is buttered is on the local level. And that's how we have to get folks elected on local levels so that we bring more credible candidates to these higher offices. It just has to be done. So what are some of the obstacles that we face? And a lot of times, like I say, I refer to Georgia because this is where I am. But I'm sure most of the states across the country, share these concerns. A big obstacle is petitioning. In my very first race I ran back in 2006, it was a local race, and I had to petition, and it was successful. But it was on a local school board seat race, and I only needed a couple hundred signatures. I had a little team, got together and done it. But as you move up the chain, that task is daunting. So what do we face? Petitioning literally sucks the life out of candidates. It does. I speak to Damon Kennedy, one of our candidates a few years ago, running for a state house seat, and they needed like 1,700 signatures, and went out, man. He put he put it on the line. Mark Mosley helped him with his campaign, and he really put it on the line. But it was hard for him, when he didn't get there. So that's a huge burden, and that's a burden that we face across the country. Numbers. The folks that stick around, most of you are what? You're officers in your local affiliate. And then, you got a handful of folks and you're trying to do everything. Sometimes you're a candidate, and an officer. Oh, and also you're running your campaign and then managing somebody else's. We've been there. And so the numbers game of, we have a lot of support here in Georgia. We have a lot of affiliates and wonderful folks, but we're all spread out all over the place. So it's hard to really, attack some of these areas just with the numbers game. And just being burnt out. And what does that? A lack of success. I'm going to tell you, it's a special person. That can literally give their all with little to no chance of winning. I'm serious. So what happens? People get burnt out. They think if I do everything right, if I put on a quality campaign, I have a quality message, it's going to resonate. And a lot of times, we have to tell candidates, don't get your hopes up too high. Because that's just where we are. We know we've got a great message. We've got great people. But the likelihood of us winning in a lot of places is so low, and people get burned out. And I talk about, people run away because it's tough. So what can we do to address it then? These roadblocks that I mentioned earlier. And one thing I mentioned on the campaign trail, I had a good time with all our candidates. First of all, I was so proud of the slate of candidates we had running for president and vice president that once again it was a tough decision to join a race, and because a lot of my thinking in joining a race was, and even looking at doing it, was I was so disappointed in how things have been done years earlier. But I've never been prouder of our nominees. I mean, I was really excited, you know, about going and voting for him. So Adam Kokesh and I, we'd have talks on the campaign trail, and you know, Adam was all, you know, local, communities. And I said, man, I agree with you. And I didn't necessarily agree with how he was going about it and his messaging, but I did agree with the local issues on what we have to address. So that got me to thinking about what I'm calling the Free County Project. All right? This is what I see as the game changer. The concept is simple, and I'm not sure if all of you have heard about the Free State Project. You know, if you haven't, you can look online and find out about it. But it's similar on a state, you know, wide level, in which they were trying to attract 25,000 people, and they decided on New Hampshire. And the thing was that we're going to bring these freedom lovers, liberty lovers, libertarian people together and change the political landscape. And they've had some success up there. You know, I think, I'm not sure, but maybe 10,000 people out of 25 have moved up there, and they're winning some stuff, doing a lot of advocating. But the thing about that project, and I liked it. I liked the concept. I liked the idea. What I didn't like about it is moving to New Hampshire. you know, I lived up north for about half my life in Michigan, and I was like, that ain't gonna happen. You know, so I'm thinking, well, what can I do in Georgia? You know, why Georgia? One, I love it here. I love Georgia. My family has been in Georgia for over 150 years. And I love the South. I love the people. So I was like, well, I'm not going to New Hampshire. But it got me thinking about, you know, what can I do not only in Georgia, but can we take this ideal and concept and make something that will spread across the country? For other people like myself, so I like the concept of coming together, but I like it in Arizona or Utah or somewhere else. And I think this would do it. I don't see this as a new idea. Like I said, I wrote some stuff, but I'm skipping it. But it's not a new ideal or concept. Once again, you have the Free State Project. And you already have folks like Tom Arnold in Tennessee that's talking about, you know, coming together in Tennessee. All right. Gabriel out in Oregon. I met some guys at the convention last year. You know, we got to talk about it. Said, well, we're thinking about doing the same thing in Oregon. And I've heard people in Arizona are doing it. So it's not a new concept. I think what will ultimately make it work, though, is having people committed to doing the work. And what I'd like to state and commit today is that for Georgia, and with this concept, I am that person that's committed to it. And I want to share with how can this work conceptually. Can't go on all the details. We don't have that much time. Step one, choose a county, first of all. And I have an idea already for Georgia in my mind. I've shared it with some folks, but I'm not going to publicly say it. Because, you know, whenever you put things out here, you don't want people to start trying to thwart your efforts before you even get started. Or find a situation where you're out trying to get some land and everybody's like, nah, I don't think I'm going to sell now. You know, something like that. But find a county. And one of the key factors that I think that would make it work is how many people live there, how many residents, how many voters are already there. So it's one of those things where definitely it would be a smaller populated county. For example, I looked at the 5 smallest counties in Georgia looking at population, and you can do that anywhere. So that's one. How many people live there already? How many registered voters? Because that's going to set your bar. Well, how many people would we need to come together to where we would have a majority of the votes. Plain and simple. All right? And I'll use myself for example. And it's not that I plan on leaving my home in Grady County, but I am willing to invest in whatever county that we choose and change my ability to vote from Grady County, where my vote really don't count for anything, to that county in which we can coalesce and get some libertarians elected. And another thing I like about it when you talk about the land is the fact that like many states are organized land-wise across the nation in this fashion. You have land districts that make up your entire state. And those comprise of 160 acres. But you say, well, you know, I can't buy 160 acres. That's fine. But there's something for everybody. So if this is, you know, something you're sold on, you got a lot of money, you might want to buy 100 acres. And, you know, I think about Hateville. How many acres do you think Hateville is as a city? You'd be surprised, it's not a whole lot. Or I look at the community, I have a house in Atlanta, in the Atlanta University Center District. And that whole neighborhood could fit in probably 5 acres. The whole neighborhood, thousands of people. So we don't necessarily need somebody with 100 acres. But if you want 100 acres and you have the money, why not? You know, because if we couldn't get any other land, we could divide that land itself and create a whole community. Number two, well, I already kind of hit on it, but own as much of the land as possible. See, out of those districts, use Grady County for example. I think Grady County, of those land districts, there's over 100 of them. So if you wanted to own a majority of the property, of the land in Grady County, we'd start coming together and just buying up. And you can create a map from your tax assessor, and whenever somebody from Liberty comes in and gets something, you color it in. And the goal is to color in as much as possible. You know, that's how we get it going. 3, get the numbers to elect those who understand freedom and put them in office. You know, whatever that number is. Once you choose a location, you see the demographics, how many voters, you instantly know how many people it's going to take. In Georgia, I think it's where I've been looking, it's about 700 people. 700 people, and we could elect every single office in the county. Now I know the devil's in the details. Can't do it all today, but if you're interested, I want you to reach out to me. And that's no matter if you're in another state or something like that. We can share ideas. Like I say, you know, Tom has a free county project, a little Facebook group. But especially if you're in Georgia, and if this is something that you think is even a possibility, let's talk about it. So, what could we do for liberty and the Libertarian Party if this is successful? If we're successful. I want you to once again go back to where I started. You remember that map during the presidential election that was all red and blue? You know, pisses me off all the time. Like, man, people are stupid. You know, why? Why is that the case? But just now, just imagine that all of a sudden in 2024, let's say there's a gold part on that map. Right, let's say it's just one. You know, you're talking about standing out. Instantly, people across the country would want to know what happened there. What's going on? Why? Why the difference? But then imagine that it was one down here in Georgia, and there was one in Nevada, and one in Minnesota. You know, we can do this. Definitely, we can do this. Two, what would it look like? We could erase some of our biggest hurdles. Let me go back to the ones I mentioned. Petitioning. When you have a majority of folks, petitions are breeze. You know, I mean, you're not having to go door to door and convince people. We've already got us there. Once again, for every single office that we have to petition, using Georgia as an example, it'd be done in a day. You're not spending all your money, all your time just getting on the ballot. You'd be there just by deciding at your affiliate convention you want to run for office. How sweet would that be? The numbers game. Since you're coalescing people together in one area, you know, everybody's not having to do everything. You know, you actually have a support team. And we could do more outreach to those who might hear the message. All right? Burnout. You know what would change burnout in the party? Winning. You know? Winning. Success. Because we all get fired up. You know, when we hear that somebody won it, no matter where it is, we get excited. I know they're excited, the state's excited, the affiliate's excited. But winning itself draws more people. People see the possibility. And that's kind of what we're talking about here. Being able, instead of just talking it, but giving people a chance, to see the possibility. Answer that all familiar question. What will you do if you're elected? You know? Most of the time, I mean, we're talking, just telling people, well, it'll look like this. But the answer is show them, not just tell them, but show them. When they think about, well, how would libertarians govern? Give them an opportunity to see it.
Yeah.
That's where the lesson is. 4, create libertarian majorities. How does that sound? A lot of times our candidates that even win elections, they're just that lone wolf out there. And they make a vote that's very symbolic. Hey, somebody's got to stand up for freedom. How would it be if the majority of the county commission were libertarian? The local sheriff was libertarian. The probate judge was libertarian. Even the tax commissioner was libertarian. What could you do? We could show them and put it in place. Breaking new ground. And lastly, we give others a taste of what freedom looks like. Because that's one of the things that's in scarcity around the country. It's freedom. So if we create a locale that has it, that's where, like I say, that's where everybody's going to want to be. You know what? You lowered your taxes. What? Huh? I want that. And you start a brush fire. And then you don't have to win all the elections. Because what are the other parties good at? Stealing our ideas. Because what do they want to do? They want to remain in office. So when people start demanding what we have of the other parties, we've seen it, they'll change in a heartbeat. They'll really start looking and trying to govern more libertarian. So we just have to show them, because they want to win, that as a libertarian you can win. We get more converts. That's the one hang-up that people tell us all the time. Well, I like you, but if you want to win, you have to join one of the other parties. No. We want to turn it around and say, well, if you want to win, you got to join the LP. That's where we can start. These are just a few things that are within our reach. And it's not complicated. But it isn't easy either. But neither has the last 50 years of this party been easy. We've been fighting battles since the beginning. Principled battles. But is it worth it? That's what we have to ask ourselves. Is it worth it? Where do we start? For folks in Georgia, we can start right here, right now. Period. Where do we start? But each of us needs to determine what we will do to be free. What would I give to be free? You know, I think about it. I'm a student of history. And you read the stories of history of people that were enslaved in this country and some of the things of what they were willing to do to get their freedom or to get a family member's freedom, to get that manumission paper. And I've seen them. You know, I dig in courtrooms doing genealogy all the time, and I've read them. So we have to ask ourselves that. You know, what would it like for me to get my manumission paper in this country in this time? Because this is all we have. We're not going to dwell on what happened in the past. But we have, long as we're here, we can determine what happens moving forward. One of the best things I see about the Free County Project is working with people who already get it. And a lot of times in effort, we spend trying to convince people that they should be free, you know? And that can be frustrating. I've got close friends that are just in that mode. They've been conditioned in their life. And, you know, I had some today, you know, just talking to me, yeah, you know, what about the military? A buddy of mine's retired Navy. What about the military? What are you going to do? Like, dude, you don't get it. you know, I can, and I'm going to talk to him. And I'll talk to anybody. But sometimes you get tired, you know, of talking to them. I like working with you all because you don't have to be convinced. You know. In Georgia, and the possibility once again, in Georgia, we consistently get in elections tens of thousands of votes. Tens of thousands. I think one of the Senate races got 60, no, in the, I think Senate race we got 66,000 votes in one race, or 100,000 votes in this race. And you have to realize, especially if it's more than just Libertarian and a two-party race, that when people vote Libertarian, a lot of times, that is a strong commitment for them. So we have the people. So a project like this, I'm talking about, we don't need tens of thousands. We don't need 100,000. We need about 700 people to affect this in Georgia. So I'm going to end and just say, I mean, that's what I am, but who's with me? You know, that's what I want to know. Who's with me? If time permits, I don't know how to do on time, but I'd love to answer just a few questions. And I don't want to keep you long because we've got work to do. You know, we've got work to do. So I appreciate you staying. I appreciate you listening to me. I mean, it is, you don't know how much an honor it is for me to be asked to come before you. I mean, it is an honor. I mean, the wonderful things that people say, I mean, it blows me away. Because, you know, I am who I am. I mean, what you get when I'm here, or if you talk to me in the hall, that's just who I am. You know, I don't consider myself a big shot. I don't, you know, my past accomplishments, you know, a lot of times I don't even like talking about them, you know, because I leave them behind. And I'm always thinking about moving forward. So I appreciate all the nice things and nice people, but if anybody, you know, has some questions for me, I'd love to take a few, if that's okay. Thank you. Thank you again.
You can just repeat it if they can't hear me. So besides population, what other criteria are you thinking of for county selection?
Besides population, what are some other important factors in whatever county that we might look at? One is just the area, you know, because there's some areas that are in the middle of nowhere, and it's not to me, it's not a game changer, because what we're trying to do is so important. But a nice area, you know, for one. You know, I like a smaller area personally, so that, you know, if it's so, you know, big, even the county, it may be hard to get a lot of the land and buy it up. It's something we could do over time to get some of those full land districts. So, you know, the bigger the area, sometimes even in more popular areas might be even more expensive. You know, but a lot of these impoverished areas across the country, you know, they're that way for a reason. You know, they don't have a lot of population for a reason, because nobody really is moving there and looking there. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have potential. Because even driving up to this event, you know, I live in South Georgia, right above Florida, and I took the West Coast route. I went through some of those small counties, and believe it or not, in every single county in Georgia, somebody lives there. You know, and they make a home. I see beautiful homes all over the place. So, you know, but having something maybe advantage to go in other places in the state, or major highways and things like that, are some of the things to look at and choose a, you know, really good location.
Hi, Mr. Monds. I'm Spike Cohen. I'm a big fan of yours.
Nice to meet you, Spike.
Is this on? Okay. I know you didn't want to talk about your accomplishments, but before I ask my question, I would like to talk about your accomplishments. For those who don't know, this is the first Libertarian to ever get more than 1 million votes. Yeah. He did this running, not nationally, he did this running in one state. So I just want everyone to keep that in mind for the future. Anyway, going back to asking you about this free county project, which I think is a fantastic idea. Do you envision this, because you mentioned Georgia and the possibility of getting, you know, 700 or more people together, but you also talked about in other states doing similar things. And instead of trying to do an entire state, doing individual counties, and I tend to agree. Do you envision this being something you would start in Georgia with the idea that once you had a proof of concept to expand, or do you anticipate it being more of trying to do similar projects or network with others who are doing things in, you know, for example, Minnesota or Wyoming or whatever else? Thank you.
Good question. And come on, we're libertarians. You know, we don't tell people what to do. You know? I'm just saying, I'm committed to Georgia because I'm here. And if somebody doesn't live in Georgia but wants to move here, come on, we'd love to have you. But no, I see it as a concept that could get started immediately all across the country. You know, it's a concept that I think it would be great not nationwide, but around the world. You have libertarian movements around the world and concentrated locally. But no, like I said, that's why I mentioned some of the other states that have already thought about it, talked about it, and are trying to put it in motion. It's not a new idea, it's not a new concept, but you know, why wait? Now, with proof of concept, let's race to be the first, you know, to prove it. The first to get a partisan majority on one of these school boards or something like that. So, absolutely, no, let's not wait. I'm not sure, once again, I don't know how long I'm going to live. I could be gone tomorrow. So I don't want to wait on somebody else to prove it or something like that. Let's get it started right now.
So I actually have a double question while I'm coming back. The first one is there a way for people not on Facebook to keep in touch? You mentioned there's a Facebook group that you should join. Is there any other way to follow the project and or maybe get involved?
Well, it's not that formal yet, and one of the best ways is just reach out to me. I don't think I'm accessible, you know, so absolutely.
Okay, great. The other thing that was kind of, you mentioned the project in Arizona, I think you're referring to Free State West, which was dealing with the Cochise County, trying to get people there. I know they had an issue with, they were having a very hard time recruiting young people. Do you have any sort of insight into how we could do that in Georgia? Get a bunch of young libertarians to come they had too many retirees and not enough people like starting new businesses and starting educational opportunities for their children and things like that.
Well, and I think what's great about attracting, first of all, if they're libertarians, I mean, they're already kind of got an insight in what we're trying to do and believe in. So that's I think that's easy. And like we do with everything, we share the message. I said making this available and letting people decide on it if it's something important to them. And not necessarily, we don't need to convince everybody. We're just trying, once again, we're trying to get to whatever level that is. But what you'll find is, and I was talking to Doug Craig about this yesterday, you know, once we start coming together, I was like, you know, I love Doug, man, he's a great guy. I would love him even more if he was my neighbor. You know, we do a lot of similar things. We talk about solar, we talk about raising food in which we can feed our families in crisis and things like that. You know, so coming together and would be wonderful. I mean, anybody here, I'd love, it would be great to be neighbors. We're spread all over the place. But imagine what our community would look like. You know, I'm a homeschool parent, and that's one thing, one concept, is when you got freedom-loving people that, you know, aren't inclined to love government schools, then we create opportunities. We'll help you homeschool your kids, you know. We don't have to really worry about that, I believe, with libertarians coming into the project, because we're not looking at government, you know, for anything. But when we get there, we can offer alternatives to those that are either already there or thinking about it. So some of these counties that have small populations, they actually have small student populations as well. So it'd be an opportunity. Yeah, what would your property taxes look like if you didn't have any schools, any government schools? You know, that's what 50% of my taxes go to, property taxes go to the local school, of which I have never had a child in. And matter of fact, the best thing we do is threaten them, say, hey, you keep acting up, you go in public school.
That's mean.
Oh, you know, thank you, thanks. But just think about that. So, in a lot of these small counties, if you created either private schools, you know, a lot of things are done online, or if you created homeschool opportunities, and eventually you didn't have any kids in the system, what would your property taxes look like? And then that's why I say trying to find a place you can buy up a lot of land, because when you start lowering your property taxes, everybody wants to move there. Businesses want to move there. Now they're fighting a system in which everybody raises the taxes and they give you little cuts here and there. But if you can create a business-friendly tax environment, you don't have to recruit. You don't have to promise things. You know, it's already done for you. And you have an educated population, because now they're not going to them failing government schools. You know, they're being homeschooled, they're going to private schools, and they're already libertarian. So you already have an intellectual elite. So you'll have workers and whatever you need. Anybody else? But I'm excited about it. And when people ask me, you know, what are you going to do? You're going to run again. I tell them, no. This is what I'm excited about doing. And I see this, I want to work as hard as I can on this project until 2024. In the immediate. But this is long term. But I want to start changing that vision. I want to start changing this party in a way. I mean, I just get excited, you know, thinking about, you know, having a majority of a county commission. I mean, and the power, and that's the thing, and I'm sure you've noticed it, once you get elected, there's things you can do that people, they can't stop you. even if you had folks that wanted to, they don't want to be free. They can't really stop you to the next election. Because by the time you do a recall or something like that, it's too late. But what we're trying to do, if we educate people that way, they won't want us to stop. They'll want more of it. So that's how, you know, important this is. That's what's exciting me. Running for office, you know, I've been there, done that. I've enjoyed every single time. But I see this as something, when we talk about really changing the world in our lifetime, I think this is something that can get that started. Spike was about to say something.
No, all I want to say is, as you hit the ground running with this, let me know how I can help promote and support it, because I will be there 100%. This is 100% behind what we need to do, working on the local level. You have a great, as much of a friend and ally as I can be in this, absolutely.
Yeah, let's talk about South Carolina.
Yes, we'll talk about South Carolina.
I don't know, does that mean you're moving here, Spike? Is that what you're proposing?
Well, hey, listen, if he gets this plan going, there are many conversations we can have.